Okay, so this is something I've been wanting to do for a while now, and by a while I mean since February, because that is when I started watching a little anime called Future Diary. And there will be spoilers in this review, and it will probably be sectioned into different parts. First, I want to say I've seen this show 3 times now, once by myself, twice with my sisters, and a third time with my friend. And I will go through the story, and I will stop at certain points talking about what I liked and didn't like. And so it starts out with a boy named Yuki, who he has a diary on his phone. He's a loner, so he spends his days just typing out everything he does by himself into his phone. And he also has imaginary friends, one named Deus Ex Machina, the Lord of Time and Space, and another one called Momo. I'm sorry if I pronounced her name wrong, I have speech impairment. And she is the assistant to Deus. And at first Yuki thinks that they were just his imaginary friends, until a girl in his class named Juno makes a clay figure of Momo and sets it on her table for him to see, and that's when he starts to think there's more to them than he originally thought. Later on, a serial killer who is rising into stardom, I guess you could say, starts to hunt Yuki down, and that's when Yuno intercepts him and says, "I'm here to help you. You're not the only one with a diary that can tell the future." By the way, Deus gave Yuki a special phone that will give him updates about what's going to happen in the future. So basically, he has a cheat sheet to life. That's what he says. And so him and Yuno, even though he doesn't really trust her at first, he has no choice but to do so that they can stop the serial killer before he kills them. And he manages to do this by Yuno causing a distraction while Yuki takes out a dart from the collection he carries with him as a memento from his dad, I think. And he uses the dart to destroy the serial killer's phone, and the serial killer vanishes from existence. Fun fact, the serial killer is actually Yuki and Yuno's teacher. And the first time around, I did not get that. And then the second time, I realized, well, actually, I was watching the abridged series by, I think it was Yuno in a Box, who was making jokes about the teacher. And then I go back and watch with my sisters, and like, oh, he was the serial killer. He was third. Okay. So after they kill the teacher, they are summoned to Deus's realm with, I think it's 9 others at this point. And Deus explains that even though he's God, his time is actually running out. He's going to pass away soon, and he is looking for a successor, and the way he has decided to do that is through a survival game with the 12 combatants. Now, here's one of the first little issues I had with Future Diary. I do, so far I like the plot, but at the same time, this part was the first confusing thing to me, because, it's the 12 Future Diary holders, and Yuki is the first one. He is dubbed first by Deus, and yet he's the last of them, of all 12 of them, to even know that there was a game going on. It seems like everyone, including Yuno, they already knew there was a game going on. Well, Yuki, he had to find out by becoming the star of his very own slasher flick. It just seemed weird how Deus structured the game. And he even says multiple times he's in favor of Yuki. But at the same time, he didn't even tell Yuki that the game was beginning. So that was just the first weird thing to me. I do have a few more weird things to bring up, but I will get to them as we go along. I will give my my final, what I really think about the show at the end. So Yuki and Yuno, they go and he's afraid of her at first, and he tries to, he doesn't want to be with her, even though she wants to be with him very, very badly. And Yuki, he's just spending his days at school as he normally would. He's keeping an eye out for the other diary users. And then this really weird woman, who's dressed in like a Little Miss Muppet cosplay, approaches him. And she's obviously an adult. She doesn't go to that school. And she starts talking to him all weirdly, and she like about future diaries. And that's when he finds out, oh geez, she's ninth. And she has bombs all over the school. The ninth is actually called Uyu Minane, and she is a well-known terrorist, and she's especially well-known for her explosive skills. And she introduces herself by destroying half of Yuki's school in a bunch of explosions. And so Yuki and Yuno team up. Yuki reluctantly has to team up with her. And she saves him from being blown up multiple times. And Yuki, eventually he ends up in the clutches of Minane because his school, including the teachers, sell him out. And I just think that's really messed up, but it's a pretty good plot point, I would say. Like, even the teachers just sold out a student. Like, they're not supposed to do that. But at the same time, it just goes to show you never really know how someone's going to react in a certain situation. So you should always just watch your back. There's a little gray area you should stay in between liking people, but also watching your back. So, fortunately for Yuki and Yuno, there's another future diary holder who is actually fourth out of the 12, and his name is Koasu, and he just happens to be the lead detective at the police station, and he teams up with them, and together the three of them manage to defeat Minane. Unfortunately for them, though, Minane has the escape diary, and it tells her how to escape any bad situation she gets in. And so she basically just pulls a motorcycle out of her ass and she escapes the crime scene. And so Koasu, Yuki, and Yuno all decide to have a truce, and they become a team, a makeshift team basically, to defeat the other future diary holders. And then once it comes down to just them three, then the truce will fall apart, and that's when they'll decide who becomes God. Eventually, after they take out a few future diary holders, Koasu betrays them because his son is, like, he's terminally ill. Like, he has a brain condition that's going to kill him. And Koasu decides the only way to save the son is to become God. And of course, the only way he can become God is if he defeats and kills the other future diary holders, which includes Yuki and Yuno. Now, unfortunately, this is another gripe I have with this show, is that Koasu, who's a master detective, he just makes the stupidest move he could possibly make at this point, and he betrays Yuki and Yuno way too early in the game. Like, they still had 5 other future diary holders, Minane included, and they know how tough it is to take her down, and he just betrays Yuki and Yuno on the fly, and tries to kill them. And of course, this leads to Yuki and Yuno fighting back, and they end up defeating him in a battle, and he eventually realizes how wrong he was in a few ways, and he decides that it's best if he just folds out of the game, and he destroys his phone, and he is erased from existence, because Deus explained that if a future diary holder's phone gets destroyed, they are also killed. So he willingly destroys his phone, giving Yuki and Yuno a chance to win the game. At the end, though, he also asks Minane, who has actually really helped Yuki and Yuno on a few instances now, to take care of his son. And she promises to do that. So it's nice to see Minane's a terrorist, and what she does isn't right. But at the same time, it shows that she still has a hold on her humanity, even if she doesn't want to admit it just yet. And it's nice to see that. Um, so, going into season 2, Yuno decides it's only best to kidnap Yuki by drugging his drink, and she takes him to like some abandoned city and hides in a hotel with him. And Yuki, he's drugged, so he's like not in his right mind, and he can't really. He's basically a vegetable right now. He can't protect himself, and he can't try to talk Yuno out of it. Uh, Fortunately for Yuki, that's where a few of his friends come in. Hinata, Mao, Kozuka, and Akise, who is a junior detective, and they team up with the previously assistant lead detective, Takoasu, who is now the lead detective, and I can't remember his name, but he gathers the children up because they're best friends with Yuki, and they're like kind of acquaintances with Yuno. They would like to keep her at a distance, and so he asks them to help him find them in the city. Now, this is a good arc, I'd say. It's nice to see Yuki and Yuno, like, there's like a little tear, a big tear in the relationship, and to see just how far Yuno's really willing to take this, even if it means kidnapping Yuki and killing anyone he loves at any cost. And although it is kind of weird how all of Yuki's friends are brought into this arc, because I get Akise, he's a junior detective, but the rest of his friends, like the new lead detective after Koasu, he just invites a bunch of children to go on a scavenger hunt, so to speak, to find Yuki, even though they know Yuno has probably set up a Saw-like Totoro house, so hotel, which she has, and she uses it to just torture them. She locks a few of them away in a gas chamber, to which their only hope is Kozuka, and he's like not the most competent individual. He's confident, just not very competent. And eventually they manage to free Yuki, and Yuki is very mad. He's just pissed at Yuno now. He even slaps her, tells her to stay away from him, and that just drives Yuno further into madness, even though that doesn't seem possible. And like I said, I liked this arc. For the most part, it was really good. It showed a lot of good details in Yuki and Yuno's relationship. And even though I do like the group of friends, it still just didn't make too much sense to me how the majority of them who didn't have any experience with police work were brought in for this specific job. But I'm not going to gripe about it too much. So this leads to Yuno trying to gain Yuki's trust back by helping him fight off Seventh, which is actually a couple named Mai and Malko. I think it was Mai and Malko, so we'll go with that for now. And they initially defeat Yuno and Yuki because Yuki does not have any balls, and Yuno has to face them alone, and she loses, and their diaries are taken. And this shows Yuki he has to get tougher. He can't just rely on Yuno all the time. But at the same time, this is where his dad comes into the picture, and his dad divorced his mom. Oh, they're like separating or something. And to make matters worse, his dad he's in debt. Like, he's seriously in debt. Like, just, he should be staying away from his son to keep him safe at all costs with how much debt he's in. And it's pretty much established that Yuki's dad is not the smartest guy in the world or anywhere near it. And so I will be getting to what happens next in the next part.